Passing on what they got from Ohr Somayach and passing it on to Chol Yisrael. This is really one of the fundamental things we have to think about. In the Hakdama of Nefesh HaChaim, when everyone thinks about Nefesh HaChaim, so everybody thinks about Shar Dalet, because that's usually the only Shar people learn, but there are three other Sharim in Nefesh HaChaim. And Shar Dalet is really, if I could use a modern term, it is the mission statement of the Yeshivat Ohr. It talks about the primacy of Talmud Torah, that even if it's not Nagel, Maisa, Torah elevates you, it sanctifies you, it connects you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All the source of all of the shmuzim of Yitzchak Torah come from the Nefesh HaChaim. And yet, it's interesting that the Hakdama of the Nefesh HaChaim, written by Breitowitz, Rav Chaim Volozhin's son, and his father-in-law, he actually writes something that seems to be a little bit of a superficial. It says, our Father always taught us that the tachlis of a person is not for himself. The tachlis of a person is to give. The tachlis of a person is to do chesed to others. So what is it? I learn Shai Dalet, and everything's about Talmud Torah. And then I look at the Hakdama, the Iker is chesed. The answer is, it's Shnei Kesufim HaShlishi Zeh, Ad Shilava Yam Kosuf HaShlishi, V'Yachriya Bnei, and the Kosuf HaShlishi is another word from Rav Chaim Volozhin in the Ruach. The Perkei says, in Momadita Torah Harbe, Al Tachsei Toiva Liyatzmacha, Ki V'Kach Meitzarta. So the simple translation is, if you've learned a lot of Torah, do not give yourself credit. Don't think you're the big shot, because that's why you were created. Rav Chaim Volozhin gives a different translation of the words. If you learned a lot of Torah, Al Tachsei Toiva Liyatzmacha, don't hold it back for yourself. Ki V'Kach Meitzarta, to give over to others. So Memela, it's not a stira. A person was created to be about chesed, to give. But what do you give? You give the Torah that you learn, because there's nothing as precious as the Torah Hashem that you can give. Yeah, if a person is hungry, I should give them food. If a person is thirsty, I should give them water. If a person needs a place to sleep, of course I should give them a place to sleep. But the biggest chesed of all is the Torah that you give a person. And indeed, the Meforshim say that if you ask what is the halachic source of Kiruv, what exactly is the makom? Who says I have to be mekarav about it? So some say it comes from Avas Yisrael. If you love another person, another Yid, how can you withhold from the Yid the most important, most beautiful thing in the world? How can you do that? Would you let him starve to death? Would you let him die? How could you be Bnei Torah? And interestingly enough, the Rambam gives another part for Kiruv. The Rambam says it's Avas Hashem. Because if you love Hashem, how can you let Hashem's children not be connected to the Torah Hashem? So it's interesting that a machayev, to be Isaac in some type of Kiruv, applies both mitzad Avas Hashem and mitzad Avas Yisrael itself. So the truth of the matter is, in some ways I sometimes wonder, why do we need a Kiruv seminar every year? You know, we did it, in the last year before COVID, we did it in a more limited way, but we did it for many, many years. What is exactly the purpose of doing it again and again and again and again? The truth of the matter is, the Mesilas Yesharim writes, and of course he's saying it by Anivas, that even though he's not telling you any chidusha, he's not telling you anything new, but sometimes there are very important lessons in life that we just forget, because we don't think about it. And we need to be reminded, we need to have our consciousness raised. Devorim Yeduim, and he wrote another, many, many conditions in the Mesilas Yesharim. But it's Devorim Yeduim. V'yesh lahem shechach harav, but people don't think about it, people forget about it. So sometimes the achrayas of Kiruv, we have to think about it in a very, very strong way. Now let me point out, though, that there can be a hazard in the other direction. Because the truth of the matter is, even when a person is involved in helping others, it's extremely important that they also work on their own aliyah. I will be frank to tell you, this is an occupational hazard. Let's imagine that you're involved in campus Kiruv, or you're learning people who are just beginners in Gemara. So you figure, you don't have to look at every rishon, you don't have to look at every concise, you're just doing pashut pshat, simple pshat. First of all, that's a mistake, even tactically, because very often, Baruch Hashem, even if a Talmud is not familiar with Hebrew and Aramaic, their mind is just as good as the Rebbe's mind, maybe better sometimes. So, you can't make shortcuts. But even if you get away with it, what does that do to you? In other words, if you're not replenishing your own aliyah and Torah and mitzvahs, then you're not going to be able to be a Mashiach. There's a culinary data that talks about a liver that's broiling, and when you're broiling the liver, it's giving out blood, so if something else falls on it, something trade falls on it, it's not baileya, it doesn't absorb, and the lashon of the Gemara is, I need the treaty lemithlat. It's so busy giving out that it's not baileya. Now that's a Yeridei opinion, that's a law of kashrus, but some have applied it derech trush to the dilemma of the mechanik and the makari. I need the treaty lemithlat. You're so busy giving out, like bala, you're not absorbing anything. And if you have nothing inside, then what are you going to be giving out? You're going to be burnt out, psychologically, intellectually, spiritually. How can you give out unless you're taking in? So it is a very, very important thing for people in the field, in whatever field of Kiruv that they're in, that they still have a kavias, mamish itim l'Torah, to be ma'ayim. Again, I'm not dictating what the particular surah of believement has to be. But it can't just be, all I do is prepare for my share, or maybe not have to prepare for my share, as it were. It has to be something in which you're growing and you're steiging. And, in addition to the fact that if you're not growing or steiging, you're not going to have what to give, let me point out that that gufa is actually a lesson to the people you're working with, because they see that their rabbi, their rab, their teacher still learns, still grows, still asks questions, still has areas. But sometimes we think, if we have to tell a Talmud we don't know the answer to something, we sometimes think that's a failure. He's going to hate me, he's going to reject me, he's going to reject Torah. Really, when Chazal said, train yourself, say, I don't know, that is actually a pedagogical device as well. Because if I tell my Talmud, or I tell my children, as it were, also my Talmidim, I tell them, I don't know. Let's open up the Gemara. Let's be ma'ayin. Let's look in that portion. Let's see what we can find. You're conveying a very important lesson. That Torah is not something that you finish and now you know. Torah is a continuous process of always learning, always studying. That's an important lesson too. That we don't know everything, but we continue to learn. We continue to grow. So not only is it necessary for you, but I'll leave it the evidence, and also it's a very good abracha for Talmidim. They tell the story of a laser silver. Was one of the great Breitowitz who came to the United States before World War II. That he lost his first rabbinic position. I will not mention the city because it's Lashon Hara. This was before he was in Cincinnati. They fired him because he was wasting electricity because he was learning all night in the show. And they said, you're wasting electricity. So he said, I'm learning. He says, that's even worse. We thought we hired a rabbi who already finished his education. Why are you still, you're learning in our time? He says, get out of here. For Hashem, you're knocking, so you know everything that is. And that is the assignment of Lamei L'Shem K'Le'Rahim Yodayim, to teach my Talmidim. Listen, I don't know everything either. We got to learn, we got to grow, we got to go together. So that's a very important nekuda. That is important as Kiruv is. It can't be totally at the expense of your own learning and your own aliyah. You will be a better makar. Everyone knows Rav Aaron Kutcher's famous mashal. He probably was not the first one. Probably many people use the mashal of the Kiddush cup that overflows. You fill up the cup, it then overflows into the other bechers. That's the idea. You fill yourself up with Torah and learning and understanding, and that overflow then goes to other people. But if there's nothing in your cup, what exactly will you be able to teach? So that's one thing that we need to keep in mind. Another issue, this is a little controversial, is when people think of Kiruv or Chanukah, they often think of having to have definitive answers to kind of major philosophical questions. How do I know there's a God? So let's go through all of the different arguments for the Messias Hashem. Torah min Hashemayim. Who says the oral law was not made up and there were not errors in transmission? And people then go through the riots and the like. Now, the truth of the matter is, this HaTorah, and it's a worthy framework of Limud HaTorah. So by all means, sometime in our lives we should try to go through these inyanim, we should try to understand them. I'm not being mizalzel in them, they are important things. And indeed, according to the Rambam, the very mitzvah of Emunah in Hashem requires that one intellectually understand the foundations, and not just learn them. But I will say, and maybe I'm looking at tonight, and my colleagues might disagree with me, that I think it plays very little role in the decision of whether somebody will become from or not become from. Meaning, after the fact, when they've made a decision to become from, they want to be sure that it makes sense or feel that it makes sense. So the rayas kind of confirm, or they don't confirm, the decision that was made. But they are not the genesis of a decision, at least in this generation. People do not hear a proof that the Torah was given to 3 million people and then say, I gotta change my life, I gotta be different, I can't go to the movies on Shabbos anymore. So, what that means is that although going through proofs is an important thing, and again, it's important not just for Baalei Tshuva, it's important for all of us to try to go through and understand the Yeshivat of Emunah. It is important, but that is not the sine qua non, that is not the necessary condition, number one, to be encouraged people and to be effective in Kiruv. And therefore, even if a person feels they're not so conversant in all of those areas, that should not stop them from trying to reach out to people. In reality, what brings people to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, most part, is number one, the love and respect that they are shown, the care that they're given, and number two, the fact that they see in Torah life a modeling for the type of person they want to be. Meaning they look at Torah, they look at a marriage. Again, I'm not going to say everything is perfect, but when it works, they look at a marriage, they look at parents and children, they look at the kindness that exists in a free community, they look at the goodness of Torah, and it is the goodness of Torah that says, I want to be like that, I want to be part of that, I want to be part of a community that does that. Now, Zil Gemara. So now let's explain, how do you know this, how do you know that? Now, how do you know it's not going to make somebody from? What's going to make somebody from is number one, the care that they experience, but number two, even if they don't experience it, the goodness that they see in the community. I've said, let me tell you two stories. One is of Chaim Reiser. Chaim Reiser was not he was not a Kiruv person. He was not doing a lot of Jewish outreach. He never gave a talk for Ohr Somayach. In fact, Chaim Reiser was not even a public speaker. He very rarely even spoke at all. He didn't like to speak. He happened not to be a very gifted speaker. But there's a story, and again, it's a little story, and may not even move me that much, but it's always moved me a tremendous amount. During World War II, at least the beginning of Chaim Reiser died in 1940, but the very beginning of the war, Chaim Reiser was in charge of distributing millions and millions of dollars coming from America, from the Joint Distribution Committee to different refugees and the like, and he was the address for literally millions and millions of dollars. The U.S. representative of the Joint was a physician from Cincinnati, whose name was Samuel Schmidt, Dr. Samuel Schmidt. Samuel Schmidt was not a Shomer Shabbos, but he had to meet with Rabbi Grodzinski to talk about the distribution of funds. And they're coming there, and they're talking about where this money has to go, and this money has to go. Again, millions and millions of dollars were involved here. And at some point, Chaim Reiser put his hand on Dr. Schmidt's hand and said to him, do you mind if I call Dr. Schmidt, do you mind if I call you Reb Shmuel? And Dr. Schmidt started crying because he knew that Reb was a title of respect. And he said, Rebbe, I don't keep Shabbos, I'm not a religious Jew. I mean, a doctor I am, so you can call me doctor, or you can call me Samuel or Shmuel. But I'm not a Reb Shmuel, I'm not a type of Jew that deserves to be called Reb Shmuel. And Rabbi Chaim Reiser said, how can you say that about yourself? You're a Yid who comes to a war zone, you leave a profitable profession, you leave your family to help other Yid. You think that's not chashuv? Do you think that doesn't matter? Do you think that you're not a good Yid? Do you think you don't deserve to be a Reb Shmuel? And Dr. Schmidt, who wrote an autobiography later, said he went home that day, he put out up to him, it was a weekday, he got up to him and he became a Jewish man. Because Rabbi Moser said he was a good Jew. And when he said he was a good Jew, that changed. In fact, that's such a great person. He said he was worthy. That's what kind of people. And again, I would recommend that if any of you want to know, maybe I should just sit down with Gary. Let me recommend a book that Artscroll published, the biography of David Trent, called Just Love Them. And I don't know if any of you know about David Trent, absolutely legendary, almost supernatural person. People say he must have been a mother, not a human being. But his whole Avodah was reaching people who were unreachable by the power of the love that he had for them. Now, granted, he was dealing with a slightly younger group, so some of the techniques he used may not work for adult Kiruv. Maybe you have to dance around and jump around and play basketball. Maybe that's for younger people. But the Yesod HaKavanah is so nice that when atonement is markish, that you care about them. Atonement is markish that you love them. And atonement is markish that you respect them. You see their values. They're not just a bunch of junk that you have to change and improve. Then the pintle yid in them already is going to come. They don't have to have so many riots for this and for that and for that. Then they'll learn it. You're not going to die from a kasha. They have a kasha. If you have a kasha, it's good to find a terrorist. But not every kasha kills you. And to say, I can't learn until I have this proof. You'll see. It's not going to be the case. So, all right, we haven't proven anything yet. But let's learn together. This is what Jews do. This is what you can do. This is how we stay a nation. You need to call it simple arguments. But simple doesn't mean false. Sometimes simple is more true than a lot of complicated things that we have to construct. So, it is the love that you show. In my second story, the story again, I feel bad, I've said it probably many times already, but I'm going to tell my Moshe Feinstein story one more time. Not the last time either. For those who may not have heard it, I do apologize for the repetition, for those who have heard it before. Moshe Feinstein used to come to Hartford, Connecticut. I grew up in Hartford, Connecticut. He used to come for 2 weeks for the summer. For a few years, he had a relative in Hartford, and he would stay with a relative. Our own little joke was he wanted to go to the only place in the world that wouldn't ask him any shilas for his 2 weeks. That was Hartford, Connecticut. And I was in 4th grade. I was 9 years old. And I would be in the car. I used to daven in Israel and then walk to school, which was 2 blocks away. So I was so excited to be in the car with Moshe. I don't think I ever spoke to him, but I can remember, even as a 9-year-old, I very specifically remember the hadras panim, the glow on his face. I mean, I saw it. I saw a shining on his face. It struck me. I remember, too, how he would learn as he was wrapping up his tefillin. I had never seen that. He had a Mishnayos Torah. That's what he was always learning there. And he would wrap up his tefillin, like reading Mishnayos. When he got to the Gemara, he would go up to the bima to hear Kriyas HaTorah, and he had his finger in the Mishnayos. As soon as he began laning, he closed the Mishnayos on his finger. And as soon as the Aliyah was finished, he opened the Mishnayos. And how much time do you have on a Monday and Thursday? Bang down on the Gemara. Not too much time. So I never seen something wild like he learns like every second. And, so I would sit with my mission would be there. I would sit in the back seat, and he would be in the front seat, the other people in the car. And I just loved it. That's why I loved being in the car with him. So one time, and I didn't hear, I never spoke to him. Maybe it's a short relation or something, but, we didn't have a conversation, certainly. So one time, the show was over, I was still davening, I had the key to the show, I was a precocious 4th grader. And it was raining, and I'm still davening. And then there's a knock on the show door. And the guy who drove us opened, he was there, I opened the door, and he said, Rabbi Feinstein remembered there was a little boy in the car, and he wanted me to take you to school. He didn't want you to walk in the rain. Now, everybody there knew me. The guy who drove knew me well. He wouldn't have planned on his own to pick me up, and I didn't mind. Even today, I don't mind. I don't mind walking 2 blocks in the rain. It's not a big deal. But who cared? The greatest Gadol Yisrael, the one who had all of the burdens of Klal Yisrael on his shoulders. And he remembered he didn't want a child to walk home in the rain. I have to say that is a picture, that is an image that I keep This is what mitzvahs do. I would like to be a person like that. I would like to. I mean, number one was the love that he showed me, but even in the abstract, even had he done it for another person, of course there are so many mitzvahs in the Bible, it would have been the same thing. But wow, that's what I want. That's the person I want to be. And if this is how you become that person, then this is a crude way. Maybe, I don't know, this proves, that proves. We'll work it out one way or the other. But the ikr, what makes people make a decision, like Mr. Taylor, is they see the goodness of the Torah. And that creates a tremendous challenge, because that does mean that people who take the acharayas of Kiruv have to try to be people. Try. You're not going to be with Moshe. Try to be people who others can look at and say, wow, that's the type of person I would like to be. That's the type of life I would like to have. Rabbi Yosef said, towards the end of his life, that the pasuk, that you should love Hashem with all of your hearts, and Gemara has a drasha in Yuma, Shem Shomayim Misahev al Yadecha, that the name of God should be beloved among you, meaning the way you live your life, you make the name of Hashem beloved. Rabbi Yosef said, that is the primary mission of our generation. You see, in that sense, Kiruv is really just an outgrowth of that, meaning if you live your life to make the Shem Shamayim Yisrael Al Yadecha, you will be the target here. You will be. Kiruv doesn't only mean you give a class or you work in a college campus. It can refer to the hospitality of Shabbos, the way you greet people and show the way you work it, the way you deal with your colleagues at work. That's also Kiruv. Right? Make Shem Shamayim Yisrael Al Yadecha. And that's really the Yeshivat Ohr. So, let me give you let me mention another aspect of it. And the other aspect is, don't degrade the power of Torah learning itself. And this already is what the Yeshiva really teaches. And that is, we sometimes think, well, Uri Zohar is kind of the bracha. Not Uri Zohar, there's someone who left us recently. And Uri Zohar, of course, has an amazing story. I don't want to go into all of the stories, but basically he was the top of the secular world of entertainment. And he left it all to become an Eved Hashem. And for the last more than 30 years of his life, he was Yitzchak, Mamish, and Arbatzas Torah. And he was asked, since he knew both worlds very well, he very well knew the secular world, he knew better than almost anybody. He was asked, what do you learn with that person you're trying to bring to Judaism? What do you do? What type of thing? Do you do the proofs of God? And so he said, you do Bava Kama. Bava Kama is technical, legalistic. That's going to make somebody from Bava Kama. And he got upset. He said, you don't believe in the koach of your own Torah? You know, the first rule of a salesman is, you can't sell what you don't buy. You don't believe in the koach of Torah? Torah has an immense koach. It almost makes no difference what you learn. On some level, it makes no difference what you learn. You can learn Torah, you learn koach. And if you couple it with the Shem Shamayim Messiah and the love and the care, tremendous things will happen from learning itself. And people sometimes say, oh, but I can't learn the word of him until I convince them that the oral law is from our Sinai. No, absolutely not. You don't have to prove anything. You can say, listen, I believe this, you don't have to believe that right now. But this is the wisdom of the Jewish people, that you have to say, because I call Modim, this was part of the Jewish tradition, even if you don't have the Emunah predicate. Let's learn the wisdom of the Jewish people today. And Torah has its own momentum. The Yerushalmi says, Ohr Somayach, the light of the Torah will bring them the Lord. Hashem says, even if they leave me. We see this again and again. There's a story about the Breitowitz, when the great Torah of the last generation. And the story goes, this goes back to the 1950s or maybe the late 40s, the early years of the state of Israel. There still is, but there was at the time a kibbutz, Ein Charod, which was a Shomer HaTzohir kibbutz. meaning not just a non-religious kibbutz, an anti-religious kibbutz, a kibbutz that hated anything to do with Torah. That they made a rule. You were not allowed to have a Tanakh in the kibbutz. You could not have a synagogue in the kibbutz. They wouldn't allow it. Like the story through the cook, because Cook was visiting the kibbutz. The cook just asked, could we have a minion for Friday night? And they said, no. The cook has to have a kibbutz, whatever. He's still staying, and smoking the bathrooms. But even for a cook, they wish they wouldn't make a minion Friday night at all. So the story goes that after World War II, one of the parents, the father of one of the kibbutz members, came from Auschwitz, and he actually had saved the little Sefer Torah. 3 years in the concentration. Amazing. He could have been killed, but he saved it, and he brought it wherever to serve. He lived with his son in the kibbutz Kiruv. And when they discovered he had a Sefer Torah with him, it's like Sodom. They surrounded the house. They demanded a search. And they took the Sefer Torah that survived 3 years in Auschwitz, that the Nazis weren't able to get hold of. And they took the Torah and they threw it over the fence, into the mud. This was apparently a scandal. This was something that even Ma'ariv and Yediyot Achronim said, no, leave too much, and they actually condemned it as well. And the Breitowitz were guys are in Titus. Such a tragedy. To be a Zion of the Sefer Torah. How could it be? In Eretz Yisrael, how could it be? Kiruv said at the time that he felt like Rabbi Akiva. Remember the famous Gemara in Makos? When Rabbi Akiva sees the Korban and the Shua, the fox, going out of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, so everybody is crying and Rabbi Akiva is laughing. And they asked Rabbi Akiva, why are you laughing? Because he said, until I saw how the tragedies are going to be literally fulfilled, I didn't know the Geula would be fulfilled, but now I see the tragedies. I know there'll be a Geula. The Kiruv says the following. This was a tragedy. Of course it was a tragedy. But you know what it signifies? Even these people understood the Kayach of Torah. Because if they really thought Torah was worthless, then let him keep it. Let him keep his harmless little game. If he would have had Chinese hieroglyphics, they wouldn't have kicked it out. What were they afraid of? Because they knew that even one night of a Sefer Torah in this place will change the kibbutz. They didn't want that change. So he says, Baruch Hashem, they're not dead to Torah. Baruch Hashem, even in their averos, they're makir the Kayach of Torah. And if they're makir the Kayach of Torah, there's going to be a time where the Torah is going to change them for the positive. And he said, Chacham Adar B'Navi, Chacham is greater than a Navi, that there will be a time in which there will be a minion in Ein Charod, and there will even be a Kaila in Ein Charod. And Kachade, Ein Charod is not Me'ashorim, it's not even Arzayavira, to be sure, but Ein Charod has a morning Kaila. Avreichim come in the morning, and they have to be learning 3 times a day. And everything the Kiruv said was in fact the Kaila of Torah. So don't think you got to be glitzy. Don't think you got to talk about Kabbalah, or you have to talk about all of the proofs for everything. Plain learning can be very good as well. But I will say that since one of the main issues that attracts people to Yiddishkeit is that they see it as a way of life that is meaningful in God. The one thing I would say it is good to talk about is the inyanim of shalom bayis, raising children, more practical issues, because these are the things people look for. People live in a world that's very cold, very impersonal. They live in a world where marriages fall apart, where parents are often estranged from children. And if there's a derech hachayim that allows for the creation of a strong mishpacha, people want to hear it, people want to gravitate toward it, people want to learn. Now we have to be careful not to overpromise. Sometimes people say in Kiruv, oh, you become thrilled, you'll have a wonderful marriage, you beautiful kids, and everything's going to be good. We know realistically, we have problems too that we have to work on. But don't blame the Torah for the chesronos of us. Within the Torah itself, there are beautiful, beautiful teachings develop into those human relationships. And that, I think, is a mitzvah. That's very, very worthwhile to talk about. Because I can tell you that that is what people are thirsty for. People are thirsty to know, how can I have a good relationship? How can I get married? How can I make my marriage better? How can I have a connection with my children? And if you can show them some ways of doing that, then that's a way that you can really be encouraged very, very much into the Torah of Hashem. Let me just mention in my last few minutes, almost a laundry list a little bit, of pitfalls to be avoided in the Jewish outreach world. Some of this will repeat, some of it might be a little different. Number one, people are not objects. You know, I once saw a tzedakah campaign that talked about the importance of giving tzedakah to an ani, and it used the mashal, you should look at an ani as a lulav and esrog, or a pair of tefillin. That through this, just like through the tefillin, you're going to get all the mabah, through this ani, you're going to get all the mabah. The advertisement was well-intentioned. I don't want to take it away. But the evidence was, it rubs me the wrong way. Because you don't look at another person as an object, as a chifza. He's a government, he's British terminology. A person is a government, not a chifza. A person is not my chifza shel mitzvah. Sometimes we look at people like low-hanging fruit that I'll pick off the tree, make a notch on my belt, be able to file with Wolfson that I have, so much X number of people that I was Makara piece of method. And then, whatever, get money or get my own above, or whatever it is. And that's why I sometimes forget about them once I make them from. Because I got to go on to the next one. And that's a whole talk in and of itself about second stage kids. Just because somebody comes to Shomer Mitzvahs, they didn't have the family, they didn't have the community, they didn't have the connection. You can't just forget about it. But when you look at people as objects, you kind of, I have my Hatzlacha, okay, now I'll go on to the next one. No, everybody's an Eilam Ma'avim. So you can't look at them as a chefzish mitzvah. And that also means you therefore have to be attuned to their individuality. Sometimes we have a desire that we try to make people in our own image. We have certain shittas, we have certain hashkafas, and you kind of push your particular hashkafas. Now obviously, the word hashkafa is a very, very general word. If you're talking about hashkafas on the most general level, of Amunah and Hashem and Torah and Shema, yeah, that's something you can push. But if you're talking about what somebody believes about Zionism or the army, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to push your particular issue. People have the right to think about these things, they have the right to discuss these things. There is an ego different in Chayim on many, many subjects. And to insist on a kind of micromanagement that I have to make people do I hear stories, forgive me, of sometimes, I actually feel it's almost intimidation, of Shabbos hosts who keep Talmidim for 3 hours to push a certain view of the Medina. I will say, I think that's unconscionably putting pressure on a vulnerable person. Yeah, people can discuss things, discuss whatever you choose about. But you don't have to indoctrinate. Kiruv is not about indoctrination in the particulars of hashkafic issues in which Gedolei Israel have machlokes. So when you respect somebody's individuality, you understand that they are thinking people, they are capable people, and they don't have to be exactly in your image. Okay? So you don't make people in your image. Man is made in God's image, but we don't have to make God in our image and then assume everybody has to be like us in that way. Then, of course, the notion is don't talk down. This is all implicit in seeing the person as an individual. Sometimes the idea is that we are the repositories of perfection, and the one that we're trying to work with is like garbage and worthless, but I will give him a way to make his life worthwhile. Number one, even tactically, that's not going to work. The person feels you're looking down at them. Many people, most, all, are people of intelligence, people of accomplishment, people who have done things with their lives, people who bring good values to the table. Kiruv is not a one-way street in which I'm here to tell that person what is right. It has to be a shared experience. It's a mutual growth. This is what Chazal said when they said, we learn more from our Talmidim. And in fact, Yeshivat says. Yeshivat says in the academic that he instructs his sons that whenever there's a reference to somebody being a Talmud of Rabbi Akiva, like a Talmud would sign me Talmidcha, whatever it is, you should take it up. Because Rabbi Akiva said, when you print the Chubas, Rabbi Akiva said, I have never called anyone a Talmud in my life, because Eini Yodea Mi Lama Yosef Mi. I don't know who learned more from the other. The great Rabbi Akiva would not call anyone a Talmud. So it shows that should be a lesson for us as well, that we learn from the people that were Makariv. And indeed, in a sense, they're Makariv us as well. You see? Makariv. Back then, Baba Rebbe didn't even like the term Kiruv. He said, they never use it, we use it, of course. Because he said, Rechakim implies that this person is far from Hashem. Because first of all, how do you know who's closer to Hashem? Who says you're the car of the Racha? You know, you'd be surprised. Hashem looks at things in a very different way. But second of all, he said, Emes Yamita, every Jew is close to Hashem. They just don't know it. They don't feel it. They're not aware of it. So Kiruv Rechakim is not taking somebody who's far from God and bringing him close to God. It's making him aware of the closeness that's already there. So these are kind of the lessons that we need to know. And of course, I'll just end with one very basic lesson, but halachically it's quite complicated. And that is, anyone that has experience with people who are new to Judaism knows that the process of becoming close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes steps, and it's often supposed to be gradual. And when you try to rush things too quickly, that can be very, very distracting. A person, comes in one day with shorts and a tank top, and the next day he wears a bekisha and a strimer. Okay, if it lasts, that's good. Baruch Hashem, if it lasts. But very, very often, that's kind of a recipe for failure. So as a result, part of Kiruv Rechakim is to indicate when a person should not move as quickly as they move. Now, halachically, this creates enormous questions. This is actually quite a complicated issue. It's one thing if it's a matter of a chumrah that's not halacha. It's another thing, let's say the person says, I want to keep all of Shabbos. When can you tell him not yet? When are you allowed to tell him not yet? When are you mechayev to tell him not yet? Those are indeed very, very complicated halachic shows. I'm not giving you a psak on this. And this again is a final reminder that any person in Kiruv Rechakim must have a rebbe, a sefer harav, is extremely important in this area. But it does mean as a general mahalach, you need to go slow, because slow but steady is a much more sustainable, permanent model than simply trying to rush things too quickly. And then the Vilna Gaon says this in his Parish and Mishnah many, many, many times, the idea of jumping to a madrega that you have not yet internalized. It's like going to a 100th story of a building without having 99 stories under that 100th story, of the 100th story that's going to collapse. I mean, it's not going to stay without any sight. So these are some of the other, I know that all the other speakers will elaborate on these things, but just some things to think about. And I think our ultimate toughness for a day like today is to really raise awareness that this is a choshev thing, this is an important thing. As Rav Chaim Elazar says, in some ways, that which we give to others is the whole tachlis of our bria. And Kiruv itself has many, many different variations. There's Kiruv private. When I say Kiruv, I love to meet people who aren't from. People who are from also need Kiruv. Sometimes people get depressed or saddened, they don't feel a connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So whatever the avenue is not so much pushing you in any specific direction. But the overall kibbutz of today is to think about other people. Think about spreading godliness, spreading kedusha in the hearts of other people, whether they're craving or hiking, whether they're adults, whether they're children, whether they're already from, whether they're not yet from, whatever it is, but just give it some thought. We were not created for ourselves. Thank you.